So around about a month or two ago, I was just going about my life, scrolling through TikTok, and I noticed that my entire feed had been taken over by edits and reviews of this series called Supercube. Everybody, and I mean everybody, was raving about this new series, saying things like the animation quality rivaled Solo Leveling, and this would be the new big anime of 2025. And obviously, as it would anyone, this piques my interest. I'd basically just finished Solo Leveling Season 2 at that point, and low-key, after seeing how stunning the animation was for that series, I was getting withdrawals. I needed more, and here before me lay a series supposedly able to rival the animation quality. To say I was excited would be a monumental understatement. So as you do, I had a quick search on the internet to find where the hell I could watch this show, and it turns out for some reason it was as if the CIA had personally got involved to hide this series from me. This was next level gatekeeping. I ended up having to delve into the deepest, darkest parts of the interweb, paired with encountering enough hentai ads to satisfy everyone's prime gooning era during lockdown, but eventually, after cancelling the search party about 10 times at this point, I had found it. And let me tell you, episode 1 did not disappoint. Oh my god, the animation quality, spectacular, superb, incredible. I would keep going, but I think I've run out of words at this point. I really need to read a book at some point. But I just thought I'd stumbled upon the anime jackpot. I was out here acting like I just won the lottery. I'm talking Prime Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 levels of animation for 4 minutes straight. 4 minutes! I kid you not, my heart was literally racing watching those first 4 minutes. I couldn't believe that I lived in a generation where this level of animation could be achieved. And I sat there hypnotized by the bright colours whilst my mind was racing, thinking about how my life would literally change after consuming 12 whole episodes of this juicy goodness. Because as some of you may know, I am a massive sucker for some beautiful animation. The main character can be drier than... Actually, no, I won't say that because I don't want to get demonetized. And I haven't actually watched enough anime to give a good example, but you get the point. I don't care if a series is boring. If the animation quality is amazing, then I'll be satisfied. Call me shallow, call me what you want, but my ADHD ass brain just likes bright colours and dopamine spikes. And let me tell you, did those first 4 minutes give me exactly what I needed in my life? Now I think this is a good point to lay a little bit of background for where I'm coming from here. A little context on my experience as an anime fan going into this series. I've watched probably around 10 to 15 series at this point, not many by any means, but enough to know roughly what to expect from anime. And part of this sort of review series that I'm starting on the channel is me giving a unique perspective on watching these massive series. Turns out Supercube isn't a massive series, as we will find out later, but that's besides the point. So yeah, with that said, I guess you can imagine that the idea of an anime being a bloody clickbait was something which hadn't crossed my mind, and I had absolutely no idea that this sort of thing could exist. And I'm sure at this point you can see where this is going, but with those first 4 minutes down, I was left drooling, sat about 3 inches away from my screen, licking my lips ready for that eyegasm I was about to receive. But as to be expected, they can't keep up that level of animation for 20 minutes over the course of 12 episodes. So the animation quality dropped. And when I say dropped, I don't mean just a little drop, no, I mean it felt like I was watching an entirely different series at that point. But I was ready to let it slide, since, in my mind, that just meant the animation studio was cooking up another diabolically eloquent sequence for later in this episode. So my naive ass sat there waiting patiently, tentatively, in anticipation for the next action scene. But the next 12 minutes went by, and as those minutes passed, I slowly began to get a little bit skeptical, or confused is probably a better way to put it. Still, there was a lot of hope in my heart since I knew what the animation studio was capable of, and I kind of just assumed maybe they were just on cooldown. Like maybe they just needed a cheeky power nap, ready to come back stronger than ever. But still, slightly questioning my life choices as to why I'm watching the most mind-numbingly generic plot I have ever seen. Like I kid you not, it was making Solo Leveling look like the bloody Shakespeare of all anime. It was that boring. Like I said earlier, I can forgive a boring plot for a little bit of good animation, but I was low-key feeling a little bit of post-nut clarity at this point. Like I'm sure all of you guys know what I mean. That moment when you just kind of left there, questioning your life choices, looking at yourself in the mirror with disgust, that sort of feeling. Like I just experienced the greatest 4 minutes of my life, followed by 12 minutes of pure disappointment.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
But still, I went into the next episode hopeful, thinking, you know, it just needs a little more time to establish the world, the characters, the goals of each character, I was ready to be patient. Something which is rare for me at this point with how much TikTok has fried my brain, but I'm willing to learn a little bit of patience after how hooked that first scene has left me. But the next episode went by and but maybe 10 seconds, there was nothing. No incredible animation, no incredible plot twists, just plain old generic anime plodding along. At this point, I was more confused than anything and just curious as to what the hell was going on. So I watched one more episode and another and another, and by this point I was about episode 6 and I was just so baffled as to where the fuck the animation quality I'd seen in those first 4 minutes had gone. I even had to go and double check this dodgy ass site wasn't showing me some Temu version of this show, and I did some more internet digging to make sure that I hadn't somehow stumbled onto the wrong show, but nope, I was in the right place. But even at this point where it looked like nothing could save this show, I still held out hope. I was still ready for my eyes to be blessed once again, and I continued to watch on. But as I started to near closer to that episode 12, the excitement turned confusion, turned despair slowly started sinking in, as I realised that there legitimately just wasn't enough time for the plot to expand beyond where it was already at. Which also meant that there was no real time to fit in any more massive fights, like there was in episode 1. Because, spoilers ahead at this point by the way, he was fighting these people climbing up the tower trying to save this girl, you know, the generic anime plot, and we were at like episode 8 and he still wasn't at the top of the tower. So at this point we'd spent 4 or 5 episodes fighting these random ass characters, which made me realise that essentially this entire anime, this entire show is him climbing up a building. And as these thoughts played across my mind, the realisation slowly set in that I had been played like an absolute fiddle. But out of absolutely batshit nowhere, as he reached the top of the tower and ensued an absolute masterpiece. The animation once again left me starstruck, and where all hope had been lost at this point, I sat there, jaw to the floor in utter disbelief. I struggle to even put into words how I felt at this point, but essentially this reignited a fire in me, a ray of hope, a lifeline. This single fight, this single moment had created a new version of me. No longer did I sit there in despair, questioning my life choices. I prepared myself, lubed up and everything, ready for the most peak anime I'd ever seen. Or at least, I thought I was lubed up. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. Because once again, the animation quality dropped to unrecognisable levels, the post-nut hit, realised how shit the plot was, and next thing I knew, the series was over. And I sat there, slumped in my chair, as the realisation sank in. I had officially been catfished by an anime. And I went to sleep that night feeling betrayed by my friends, my family, the anime community at this point. As it turns out that in the big 2025, in this modern day economy, man is out here getting catfished by an anime. What is going on? And it became painstakingly apparent to me that if I can get catfished by an anime, there truly is not a single soul in this universe I can trust anymore. And believe me when I say this, next time I see a new big anime all over my For You page with quote unquote solo leveling levels of animation, I will 100%, undoubtedly, unquestionably, without a shadow of a doubt, be getting clickbaited once again.